If you build software or lead people who do, then you're in the right place. This is Hard Calls. Real decisions, real leaders, real outcomes. A few weeks back, MIT released its report that 95% of AI projects failed to yield measurable ROI. It impacted the stock market, and it got all of us talking about what does it take to make an AI project drive real outcomes. In this episode of Hard Calls, I chat with Ben Currin, the CEO of Vantaca, about this exact topic. What I love about Vantaca is that it's bringing AI innovation to an industry in need of disruption: community management and HOAs. If you've ever been a part of an HOA, you know it's such an important part of our community, and it's one that AI and technology can truly help transform. Ben shared with me tough decisions he and his team have had to make to implement successful AI strategies from the inside out, and the 3 things Ben balances to keep priorities in line. This is a conversation that product leaders from any industry will gain great insights in how to think about their AI projects differently and drive real outcomes. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks, Trisha. This is a blast. Appreciate you having me.
Fun. Yes, yeah. I'm so excited. Ben, since the podcast is called Hard Calls, we start every one of these with you talking to us about a challenging hard call you've had to make. Anytime over your career, recent, just share something with us.
That's a fun question, and I think there's micro hard calls every day. To kind of maybe zoom out, like what's a big memorable hard call in the last year or so. I think deciding on a direction of what it means to have an AI strategy is a really hard call. It's also, it's hard. It's the most important and probably best thing that we've done over the last several years. But that's hard to say, hey, we've all been, and this isn't just Vantaca, we've all been spending all of our time and energy building software for humans for years and years and years. And then to think about what does it mean to enable humans to delegate all that work to AI, and like what all is kind of a sunk cost of what you've built so far, and is that okay, and is it not okay, and do you want to hold on tight to it? So that kind of big thing is probably the hard call. And for us, it was, this is undeniably the future, and it is going to be a great future, and there's going to be bumps along the way, but we have to jump all the way in the pool and not be afraid of, how many sunk costs there are or what we have to go back and relitigate in terms of things we've kind of held on tightly to before.
I can't wait. I've been incredibly impressed with some of the hard calls you've made as it relates to that over this last year. And I can't wait to dive into it more over the podcast. Before we jump into that, maybe share a little bit about Vantaca and who Vantaca is and what makes you unique.
Awesome. Yeah. So Vantaca is a platform in the community association management space. So what the heck does that mean? Most of us know what a homeowner association is, or a condominium association, or a co-op. These are all community associations. And so Vantaca's customers, who we kind of live to serve every day, are the professional management companies who make that industry happen, who are are kind of the connective tissue that gets the billing done to collect homeowner assessments, finds vendors, pays them, does all that back office work. That's what we do. That's who we are. And from a technology standpoint, how that manifests is a couple different layers. At our core, we are the general ledger accounting system for this industry. So we're kind of a system of record. And then on top of that, we think of all of our workflows and the ways that these community association management companies get work done as a system of work. So it's where the work happens. And then kind of the pointy end of the spear is the system of engagement for our customers' customers. So all the way through to how do they communicate with their customers, whether it's email or text or any kind of communication. How do they transact with their customers, accept payments, engage with vendors, kind of all that work. That's the core of what we do and what we've done for a long time. And now, just to kind of like look ahead, and what we're seeing today is, now with AI, you kind of have this wrapper around this system of record and system of work and system of engagement that and I need to find a good way to describe this. It's almost like a system of orchestration or delegation where you can kind of allow agents to do so much of that work that was happening in the background with humans previously.
It's such an exciting time and impressive how far along you are with actual agents doing work for your customers. This isn't like some idea you have or a strategy. I mean, it is, but it's real and your customers are using it and it's in production, which I think probably is fairly unique compared to your competitors and for your space.
It is. And what's fun, and I think this is the most fun thing right now when it comes to product, is our industry, the community association management industry, HOA management. You might be shocked to hear, Trisha, that historically it has not been the most technology forward or most innovative industry. So a lot of what we've done, over the past several years is work to deliver technology solutions that catch this industry up to, what's happening in other sectors. And what's really exciting right now is the community association management industry in a lot of ways is leading the way of what's possible when you take a kind of traditional SaaS system of record, system of work, and wrap that up with an agentic layer that can really take on that kind of work that humans were previously having to do all manually in their software. So that's exciting. Getting to kind of lead and see the community association management industry and our customers lead these other services industries is super exciting.
It really is. And I know you were working on AI and had already launched some AI features and products before, but your acquisition of HOAI really seemed to leapfrog and really push you ahead from a strategy perspective. Tell us a little bit about what prompted that acquisition and how that's changed your approach to AI within your platform.
Yeah, so to rewind even further, I think we got really curious organizationally, not just me, not just our product team, but we got really curious as a company about what would be possible through AI. Really late 2022, early 2023, kind of when all of us had the aha ChatGPT moment of like, wow, this is different. This AI feels more real than, what we had previously kind of all thought of as AI. And we got curious first as consumers and as users of software and, hey, how can we work more efficiently with this? How can we do a better job internally with these tools? And pretty quickly in 2023, that curiosity and hunger to be better internally turned into conviction that this should change the way that work gets done in our industry. If it's helping us to, whether it's generate code or create content or whatever the case is, it's helping us have this transformational growth in all these areas internally. Well, why aren't we delivering that to our customers? Why aren't we helping our industry have that same kind of transformation? And we did start to build internally and built some really neat stuff. And I'm really proud of a lot of the things our team did build. We launched Scout, which is kind of a chat-based like research assistant that kind of ride along with you in everything that you do and help you navigate and do your job better and more efficiently via Vantaca. But I'll speak for myself. I was super hungry for more. We were making progress and our progress was good. It looked a lot like the progress that many kind of leading SaaS platforms were making in terms of their AI strategy, but just felt like there was a transformational thing that could happen that we hadn't unlocked yet. And we were super lucky to connect with a couple of co-founders who had been part of Y Combinator a couple of years before, and of all things, were laser focused on building agentic HOA community management work. And when we got together, very quickly that curiosity of, okay, well, that's interesting. Let's see if that's something different. We realized that what we saw as possible for the industry, if we zoomed way out, if we looked 3 or 5 years out, what we saw looked exactly the same. It was the kind of the same picture. And what we realized is to get there, we really needed each other. We were much better and much stronger together because this system of record, the system of work is incredibly important. You know, the humans are the most important part of this industry. It's how we build relationships. It's how we build community. You need a place to kind of operate from. But the humans are so bogged down with, you know, busy work and back office tasks that you just can't go do all the things that you know are possible in this industry. So when you put those things together, kind of Vantaca as a system of record and a system of work and HOAI, it was really clear that that's the future we wanted to be running toward together.
That's incredibly exciting. And I think the way you've executed on that acquisition might be a little bit different than, you know, you didn't immediately come in and stop one roadmap and that be your only AI strategy. You didn't just loop it in and sell it as an add-on. Like you've thought about really interesting ways to make that acquisition successful. And I think it's been really successful for you and your customers. Talk to us about how you executed on it.
Well, one, I think a benefit for us and for the HOAI team, kind of together, coming together, is it was the perfect time to do it. There wasn't so much baggage. There wasn't so much history to kind of unwind. So we were able to say, okay, well, what do we believe is possible with these platforms together? What should be possible, and how can we orient around that? The hard call, and the thing that I think we are hopefully getting right, but the thing that we're running towards pretty quickly, is from day one, the most important thing for us is to say, well, what do we believe and what do we have conviction about in the future now that we didn't a month ago or a quarter ago or a year ago? And for us, it was total conviction that the infrastructure of the system of record, the infrastructure of the system of work, has to be both built for humans and agents to do the work, because it wasn't putting all of our eggs in one basket or the other, which is a real kind of important thing to consider. So really looking at every part of our roadmap and saying, does this lead to agents being able to do this work or be able to ride beside the human who's ultimately accountable for the delivery of this work? And how can that be most complementary to the humans, you know, at community association management companies doing this work? And so that was key. That was kind of the most important thing, is to just go back and really relitigate everything that we thought about how to deliver product and what the ultimate requirements are there. And as you know, Trisha, that did result in us changing directions or pivoting in huge ways from how we thought about infrastructure and backend services and kind of all of those things. And, you know, there's some real human emotions to manage through that, but it was probably the most important thing that we did as part of that acquisition and evolution.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ben. It's actually something I was going to ask about next, about the human emotion, and as the CEO, how you led your team through that emotional change, but also the mindset shift, right? To this, you know, everything you build and everything you have built needs to be executable easily by humans, and needs a great UI for humans too, as well as agents. And that probably took some training, changing in skill sets, bringing in new people, just like the whole change management aspect of that. I think you've done so beautifully. Tell us how you led the team through that.
Well, Trisha, it's nice that you're saying we've done it beautifully. We've skinned our knees a bunch along the way too. So we mess it up just as much as everyone else. But I think it all starts with conviction in where you're going. And as long as, like, if that foundation is really solid, and if we're all aligned on that, to say this is the future that we believe in and we're super excited about, and no matter what, we want to get there, then all the other kind of hard things, and whether it's sunk costs or pivots or trade-offs, all that stuff, that's just the details of how we get there. And so I think about putting a ton of energy around that alignment to, where are we going? Why is it important? Is that a future that we're super excited about, we believe in, and will it result in our customers winning? And, do we have conviction that we can get there? And if that's the case, then we just keep kind of asking ourselves, are we doing the next most important thing? Did we learn something new today that causes us to go back and have to, change our mind about something we thought yesterday? I think that's a huge part of my job is making sure that we all understand why we're doing the big stuff and why it matters, and then we can iterate through on a lot of the little things.
I mean, this as well as anyone. Maybe product managers even more than engineers, but probably both. I mean, when they've built something or they have a roadmap, there's a lot of this is my baby and you cannot change my mind. And I hear your conviction, but trust me, I've been talking to customers. I've done my discovery. I know the data. I have the facts, and I'm convicted. I know you've experienced that, and yet you're powering through.
Yeah, exactly right. And that is that's hard. And I think for everyone, you can't, that kind of conviction, you can't outsource that to anyone else. Everyone has to get there, and it's helpful for everyone to share a lot of, whether it's the product team or sales or engineers, or you've got to share your individual experiences, but you've got to also go and whether it's touch the data or talk to the customers and kind of get to that level of conviction on your own. Otherwise it's hard. And it's easy to hold on to things that, were important in the past.
Yeah. So tell me how you've clearly executed both by organic build as well as acquisition on AI, but it's equally important in this world of SaaS to keep the customer experience and the back to basics as a priority. How have you managed to balance those two things? And how do you lead the teams through that balance?
Yeah, I think what's really important is there's probably three things that I think if you stay close to these three things and you find ways to kind of balance these three, and you can't just go all in on one versus the other, it's important. One, stay close to the customers, whether you're the CEO of the business or an engineer or certainly a product leader, but stay close to the customers and listen and ask a ton of questions and just be really curious about how they see the world, and what they're excited about, what they're scared about, and kind of everything in between. So stay close to the customers. Two, stay close to the product itself. It's not enough to, watch a demo or to look at data, usage data. That's not nearly enough. You got to go touch the product a lot every day and kind of get conviction that this whatever we're building or this experience is what the demo would lead you to believe, or what the data says, because the data can be misleading on that on that front too. And the last is being data driven as well. It's one thing to listen to customers, it's one thing to touch the product, but at the end of the day, you have to be grounded in some sort of data. It can certainly confuse you, it can be conflicting, but if you marry those three together, I think that's a really important way to stay in touch and again, to get to having conviction on the direction you want to go.
Ben, you're a leader who doesn't ask things of your team that you also are not willing to do. And it's one of the things I really appreciate and admire about you. And so I'd love for you to share with our listeners today, how did you get close to the customer and close to the product when you first joined Vantaca many years ago?
Yeah, I know you've heard me say this, so you're putting me on the spot with a funny story. But I was incredibly lucky to join the Vantaca team at a really cool time, which is kind of not day zero, but day 1 or 2. So we had just a couple of customers, and we were just starting to kind of sell the product to strangers and figure all that stuff out. And so everything was like, the experiences were all small. These weren't millions and millions of homes that we got managed. It was less than that. And our customers, we knew all their names and we knew them well, and we knew their kids. It was kind of that phase. But when I joined, it was really important for me to become deeply fluent in not only the product, certainly, but how our customers use the product and every bit about their business. And so what I did, this is kind of a strategy because everyone was busy and no one had time to, just teach it to me. I talked to our, at the time, one-man support team and said, hey, I want to take a crack at all these support tickets and just kind of get first look at them. And for, 6 months or so, at my first 6 months, the first few hours of every day, every support ticket that would come in, I'd try to solve it, go recreate whatever they were asking about in the software. If I didn't understand it, I'd call the person. So many of our early customers got a lot of phone calls from, a confused Ben Currin asking, hey, I know you submitted this and I don't know what that means exactly, and let me ask you some questions about it and I'll come back to you once I understand what you need. But that was incredibly helpful just to get close to, how our customers are winning, how they're struggling, what matters to them. And if you do that, I think it'd be an interesting strategy for a product leader today. If you do that for a few months, it's hard not to have conviction about what the most important things are because you're really close to it. You're really close to the customers. You're close to the product. Hopefully you've got the right telemetry and data as well. And once you do that, it works.
And I know that's something that many of your successful leaders that are there today, even at this size and scale, continue to do, and it's worked well for you.
Yeah. It's an ongoing journey, and it's probably maintaining that closeness to all three of those things is harder with scale, not easier. I think when you're small, like everyone talks to every customer and everyone uses the product all the time and you're close to the data because, you're touching it every day. I think it's easy for people at scale to specialize too much into some of those areas and lose broader awareness or kind of outsource their conviction to others on the team in those areas.
I love that. Going back to Vantaca's roots, there's something you and I have a lot in common is when I came to Encino had spun out of a bank and then became a SaaS company. Vantaca was the same way, right? It was an idea out of a community management company and became its own independent SaaS company. And with that, there's challenges of transforming the company from being IT and automation to product led. And clearly you've been successful with that. And you continue to do it. Like even last week, I know you were playing around with new modern product management approaches and tools. So talk to me about for folks who are going through that type of transformation to really becoming product led and a true product centric company, how you made that successful and how you continue to invest in yourself and the team with product led approaches.
It's a good question. I think it's complicated because you don't always know or ever know when you're making that transition or transformation to becoming product led. There's probably a continuum. And so
you don't wake up one day and you're like, we did it. We climbed the mountain. We're product led. We passed the exam.
Yeah, exactly right. There's like that. At least I haven't had that exact moment, but maybe we'll have it at some point. But I think early on, especially for whether it's a company like Encino in kind of the experience you had, or Vantaca coming from frustrated software users and consumers to and kind of birthing that into a better way to solve these challenges. You have to at some point go from just knowing what the right answer is to being curious about how to get to the right answer. And I think that's kind of the the inflection point where at some point, and at some point you go from just being able to know the answers because you know the answers and you've touched it and you've lived it and you're building, a solution that you understand, to one, having enough diversity in your customers that they have problems that are unique to them or opportunities that are unique that you don't understand or didn't have understanding of. And as the team is growing and building, you're able to bring in incredibly talented product managers, product leaders, engineers who don't have any background in this industry. And so creating kind of systems or creating a mindset and a philosophy with those teams to allow them to go and get that conviction and go kind of touch, the customers and the opportunities and understand where we're going and then build the things to get there. So I think that's really important and really hard. But for all of us, like, it is the thing. I think there's lots of ways to think about kind of different companies being product led or sales led. And I think if you're a technology company and you're selling technology, like, you have to, if you're not product led, you're slowly decaying in terms of how your customers will interact with your products in the future.
Yeah. But then again, your sales team's on the front line and know what it takes to hit their quotas. And you have to balance listening to them too. It can't be your whole product strategy, but there has to be a good connection, which,
No, there has to be. And that's the hardest. I mean, it's the hardest thing probably about product leadership, is finding the balance of all those things. I mean, inherently, salespeople have this benefit of they're talking to the industry who isn't yet using your product, so they should be bringing in new perspective and have a diversity of kind of perspective there, and that's useful. It's just not the whole thing. So you can't over-index, you can't overweight or underweight any of those things, I think.
So I think recently you played with some of the new tools like Lovable or Bolt to do some prototyping. And I think your team did too, in terms of putting some effort and time into utilizing those tools. Tell me what that's been like, and how you think about those types of tools impacting how you build product going forward.
Well, one, it's just fun. So I think everyone, whether you're a product manager or a designer or an engineer or a product leader, or just anyone within the business who's curious, like, it's a blast to kind of to use these tools and see what's possible. What I've found, I'll share personally where I've found it incredibly useful, and then how I think it will add value to our kind of product systems and our product motions with our team. Personally, I've found it incredibly helpful as a communication tool. So for me, it's one thing to, sit through a discussion and talk about where we're going and kind of hear what we think is possible and listen to customer feedback, and then to iterate with the product team to kind of articulate, here's what I think and here's what I'm curious about, and I have this hypothesis, and position it in a way that other people can kind of iterate and take it and make it better, and throw stuff away. And instead of trying to do that through a discussion with words, or even more challenging, writing it up, trying to write a description of this this product or this idea that you're curious about, it's just hard. But building a clickable prototype in an hour on a Saturday and sharing that with the team and saying, this is what I took away from that meeting. What did you guys take away? What did how did you see this coming together? And being able to put those types of true kind of real products together just can accelerate the understanding and the kind of the growth of the idea by making it more real for everyone who's involved.
I love that.
So I guess that's for me. That's selfish. That's what I like. That helps me.
This idea. I mean, you're so close to the product. You're so close to the customer, and you have ideas, and you want to be able to share them with your team. What an easy, quick, modern way to share them. Exactly right. That's selfishly for me. For our teams and for our kind of product management system, for our product leaders, I think that where this is going to be most game changing is to
instead of just talking to customers and asking them like, what do you want? What problems are you trying to solve? And really just kind of consuming that information, you can take that information and then instead of say, okay, great, I'm going to, mock something up or whatever, you can like make it real for them. Like, this is what I heard from you. This is what you asked for, but here is what I think actually would solve your problem. Like, does that change this perspective? And that cycle time that used to take, weeks or months or longer in the worst case can be shortened down to like, okay, thank you for that feedback. Give me an hour and we'll come back together and have like a totally different version of this discussion. I think that's so exciting. And the kind of speed of iteration, I think is going to massively accelerate.
Yeah, I do too. It's so fun to watch how product is changing and how fast they can go. I mean, I've always said, and I still believe this to be true, that engineering resources are a company's gold, and you really can't waste a moment of their time. But you have to be able to play. You have to be able to prototype, to innovate, and be a product company. And I think these tools just allow us to do a lot more of that imagination of the possible and art of the possible, and iterate and get feedback and get alignment, then engage with engineering to make this real in a way that I think is changing the game.
Well, I'll share one funny example. We've always believed in a lot of experimentation, a lot of iteration, and like just testing out ideas, and not everyone is going to be perfect. And it's very hard, even when you kind of organizationally and culturally give that permission that, hey, we're going to build some stuff, let's get some feedback. Some of them are going to be dead ends, and that's okay. It is hard to get people to build it not knowing if it's going to be right. And I think this kind of next era of product leadership and product management gives the opportunity to be not certain, but have such deeper customer backed conviction that what you're building is, you're going down the right track. I think that's super exciting.
I do too. So tell me, beyond product, what are other places in the organization where you've made similar strides forward in terms of efficiency and effectiveness using AI across Vantaca?
Yeah, the biggest couple of areas that immediately come to mind are engineering itself. So like code gen and the ability to move much, much quicker on that front. Tools, whether it's just using Claude kind of organically, or Cursor and combinations of the two, and various kind of automated QA testing tools. Like there's so much that's possible on the really the whole SDLC, but like the kind of going from product kind of discovery through build. That's probably the biggest area of impact. Another great one is things like marketing and content, just like having like a, almost like a study buddy be able to ride shotgun with you and just help you move so much faster and kind of get through whether it's writer's block or whatever the case is. Those are some of the highlight examples, but it's everywhere. I mean, it's every part of our business.
It is. So Ben, as we start to close out today for our listeners, tell us, what are you thinking about from product strategy for the future? How you think about, now that you've executed on this acquisition, like what's next? What's really cutting edge in terms of how you're thinking about your product and the next couple of years, or even couple of months, because you guys are moving pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of vectors to kind of go down on that. One is going back and looking internally and saying, what are all the things that humans had to do in software previously? And for us, it's what are all the ways that humans have to interact with Vantaca, and they've always had to do that, and where are their friction points within that? Not because something's bad or a bug necessarily, but just friction points because, hey, this is just a cumbersome thing, or it's repetitive, or whatever the case is. And it wasn't something that could be cleanly automated to kind of use that that word. It's something that would be better delegated if you could, have someone take that on. So that's one vector, is just going and finding all those friction points, and whether it's, more traditional kind of, software as service work, SaaS work to go do that, or if it's service as software work to where we can go and allow our human users to delegate some more of that to agents. Like, that's kind of vector one. And then vector two is like, where else is there friction that we can help our customers solve that just was outside kind of the realm of possibility previously, whether it's outside of Vantaca or just outside of what was possible through traditional technology. I think that's those are kind of the two big vectors. And from a I'll give you an analogy that I don't know if it's a good one, so I'll throw it out there and you can tell me. But I think when it does come to kind of product in the future, we have as a software company and as a system of record, as a system of work, as a system of engagement, and now with this agentic layer of kind of orchestration around it, we have this really cool challenge right now, which my analogy here is a car. And so most of us have ridden in a Tesla. Like, if you like or don't like Teslas, we'll put that aside. Most of us have ridden in one, and are aware that Tesla has this self-driving capability, and like FSD, full self-driving, and it's pretty tremendous. If you've checked it out in the last few months, it's gotten pretty amazing. And what I think the evolution is now, if you look at the interior of a Tesla and like what is the interior of a car in this age of AI, there's way less stuff. You don't have cruise control settings to, because it just is going to follow at the right distance, or you don't have, wiper control speed because it's just going to wipe the water droplets when they fall. And there's way less stuff, right? You don't need all 11 different climate controls. It's just, hey, I want to be, 70 degrees in my car, make that happen. But there are certain things that are persistent, that are still there and are sticky and make you comfortable. Like, if I got in a Tesla and there was no brake pedal or no steering wheel, I'd be alarmed in 2025. I probably wouldn't go, take that car for a drive. And so I think as we all build software, there's a lot of work to figure out like what's a brake pedal and a steering wheel and what's not. And what's in the way of a really clean and simple and delightful experience. So I think that's really exciting work ahead, is to go figure that out and get conviction about what's durable and important and additive to the user experience, and what's in the way of having a great user experience.
And that is just changing so much. And that's a different way of thinking for your product team, your UX team, your engineering team, is not how do I perfect this workflow with the least amount of clicks, but what's the brake and the steering wheel, and how do I offload everything else? Make sure my user feels in control when they need to be, but offload everything else to automation and agentic work. I love that. I think that's a great way of thinking.
Yeah, totally.
Great. Well, Ben, one final thing I just can't not touch on is we have both led software companies in a very non-traditional town, right? For our listeners, I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. It's where Encino, which is where I was before I came to Pendo's headquarters, is. And it's also where Vantaca's headquarters is and where Ben lives. And if you don't know where Wilmington or Wrightsville Beach is, you can go look it up, but it's a pretty small town. What do we have, about 250,000 people here, Ben?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Maybe a little more now that everyone's
Yep.
started. Now we're probably going to grow after this. No, I'm just kidding. But as you guys, as listeners can imagine, like, non-traditional tech talent, non-traditional place to build a software company. Yet I think it's created a special and different dynamic. And as you guys have heard from today's episode, Ben and Vantaca are very far along on the AI curve, both using AI internally as well as launching AI products and features. So talk to us about how you think about that as an advantage, and how you still manage to make it work.
Well, I think you teed me up, probably unintentionally, but maybe perfectly, to say thank you to you and to the nCino team, or just where nCino was in their journey when we were just getting started, gave us a lot of confidence that we could build a real big, lasting, impactful software company headquartered in Wilmington, North Carolina. I was very I don't know, not worried, but aware that it might be a bug, not a feature to be headquartered here. Although we love it and it's an amazing place to live. It's an amazing place to raise our kids, like, all those things. But I think you see a little bit of the results of other people being able to do it, and you have the confidence to try. And what we've found over the last 8 years or so is it is absolutely a feature, not a bug for us. Our team members who are lucky enough to live here, I think view that as one of the most impactful benefits to working at Vantaca and to their families' lives for being able to be here. So that's amazing. It's a great place for people to be. And we've had so many really cool success stories of folks who started working at Vantaca living somewhere else in the US, and after visiting for some team meetings and some on-sites and different things, ended up saying, this is amazing, I'm going to move here. And it's been a great thing, not only for them but for the Wilmington community, to bring in super talented, amazing, smart people and their families. So that's great. And selfishly, I'm very, very grateful to be here. It's a spectacular place to live, and it's cool now with whether it's nCino or Vantaca or kind of the next crop of companies here to show more proof points that you can do that, and we can build great companies here.
Yeah. And to our listeners, whether it's Wilmington, North Carolina, or it's Raleigh, where Pendo is, or somewhere in Indiana or Ohio.
Totally.
I think what we want and hope everyone to take away is, yes, there's a lot of amazing talent in the tech hubs of the Bay Area or even New York or Boston, but you can do it anywhere. And in a lot of ways, I agree with you, it's a feature, not a bug, to be able to get outside and of those areas and build a real community of people that buy into the vision and execute as a group. So I love what you've done. And Ben, major congratulations to you and Vantaca. I know the best is yet to come, and it's still early innings for you, but it's been so fun to watch your success and your leadership, and appreciate you coming on Hard Calls today and sharing with us some of your moments that matter and hard calls. And some of the tips and tricks that have worked for you in Vantaca to get here.
Yeah, awesome. Trisha, thank you for letting me join you for a fun conversation. This has been great.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you for listening to Hard Calls, the product podcast where we share best practices and all the things you need to succeed. If you enjoyed the show today, share it with your friends and come back for more.